Hi, my name is Joe Crouchman, and I will be discussing ConocoPhillips. As you can see here, the top executives and people in key positions of ConocoPhillips: CEO Ryan Lance, Executive Vice President and Chief Operating Officer Matt Fox, Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer Don Wallach Jr., Senior Vice President and Corporate Relations Ellen DeSantis. She also has many shares invested in Conoco. Top of board directors, former chairman and CEO Charles E. Bunch, and former president and managing director Caroline Maury Devine. To start off about Conoco's company history, in 1875, Isaac Elder Blake founded Continental Oil and Transportation Company. Blake offered kerosene imported from railroads in Colorado in order to light the homes, which was a key asset in those times. Then, in 1883, Blake founded the first pipeline in California, and he loaded oil onto steamers sailing onto the Golden Gate Bridge. In 1913, Standard Oil and Continental Oil split due to an action caused by the Supreme Court of the United States in order to avoid a monopoly by ConocoPhillips. In 1917, Phillips Petroleum was founded by Frank and L. E. Phillips in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. In 1930, Phillips acquired their own independent oil and gas co., and in 1970, Conoco expanded internationally throughout Europe with stations in West Germany, Austria, Belgium, Luxembourg, and the United Kingdom. And in 1981, DuPont acquired Conoco, which was worth approximately 7.4 billion, which was the largest merger in the United States history at that period of time. In 2001, Conoco and Phillips Petroleum agreed on merging and formed in 2002. This merge created the sixth largest publicly traded oil company in the world, and the headquarters were going to be in Houston, Texas. And in 2005, ConocoPhillips was expanding its assets and acquired Burlington Resources in a $35.6 billion transaction in order to expand Conoco. In 2013, Conoco started gas production in Central North Sea in the United Kingdom, also known as the Jasmine Field. They achieved the first gas production from the Jasmine Field, which was a key point in Conoco's history. The most recent key point in Conoco's history was in 2016 when their first cargo from Australia Pacific LNG. This was the most recent in Conoco for the first cargo of liquefied natural gas from APLNG facility on Curtis Island in Queensland, Australia. Some recent news on Conoco is that Venezuela must pay ConocoPhillips more than $8 billion to compensate for the 2007 expropriation of oil assets by the country's late socialist leader Hugo Chavez. The World Bank ruled on Friday, making the U.S. energy company the largest victor in claims stemming from nationalizations in the OPEC country. The ICSID tribunal ruled in 2013 the expropriation of ConocoPhillips' substantial investments in the Hamaka and Petrozuata heavy crude oil projects and the offshore Corocoro development project violated international law. Another interesting article is EOG Resources versus Conoco from an M&A perspective. From a high-level perspective, it is clear that EOG is valued at a significant premium as compared to Conoco, according to this article. Yet Conoco realizes $8 a BOE pricing due to its conventional assets in places like Alaska and Australia, only naming those two. Meanwhile, Conoco generated more than 3 times the FCF as compared to EOG, and production is only 1.7 times higher. In their opinion, EOG is overvalued and Conoco is significantly undervalued. Another extremely interesting article is ConocoPhillips moving out of the North Sea. Now, some say, why would they move out of the North Sea, specifically the Jasmine Field? because it was so significant when they finally got into the Jasmine Field and the North Sea. But Conoco has sold all of its UK and E&P assets in a deal which looks largely fair to Conoco. Unfortunately, this whole ordeal is still happening, so the deal is not completely set, but so far it is proven more than fair. So once these articles are reviewed and said, and this transaction is finalized, it will be one for the books. Some major competitors of ConocoPhillips happen to be BP, which their headquarters happen to be in London, the United Kingdom, which is a very international company. Another competitor would be Chevron, and their headquarters are in San Ramon, California. Valero, and their headquarters are in San Antonio. And Exxon, which is in Irving, Texas. Moving on, according to almost every analyst recommendation that I looked at, they have said to buy stock of Conoco. And if you're not as risky, they say to hold definitely, but do not sell any. Some analysts that have said to buy or to hold have been B of AML, Jeffries and Co., Morgan Stanley, Raymond James, Edward Jones, JP Morgan Secure, Piper Jaffray, and Wells Fargo. SEC ConocoPhillips is a stock to invest in. Now getting into more juicy information, Conoco's annual report. According to their corporate structure section, Conoco is the world's largest independent exploration and production company based on proved reserves and production of liquids and natural gas. Headquarters in Houston, obviously, as we stated earlier. They have operations and activities in 16 countries. They're very diverse, low cost of supply portfolio, including resource-rich unconventional plays in North America, lower risk conventional assets in North America, Europe, Asia, Australia, liquefied natural gas developments, oil sands assets in Canada, and inventory of global conventional and unconventional exploration prospects. December 31st, 2018, Conoco employed approximately 10,800 people worldwide and had assets of 70 billion. Now getting into more stock comparisons and financial data of ConocoPhillips. They have a market value of approximately 75 million, which is better than some of their competitors, such as Suncor and Phillips 66. Although Chevron and Exxon are the top of the leaderboard right now with 231 and 351 million. However, it depends on you and how risky you are and whether or not you want to invest in this company. Personally, I like how Conoco is reasonably priced at around $67, and they still have a high market value. As you can see, Exxon is also reasonably priced at 83, not too much higher, and they have a $351 million market value. Now, it all depends on what you like. The betas are relatively around the same, average in the market, most likely being round one. So Conoco's right there around the average market value, which is good to see. But it also all depends on you and how risky you are and what companies you like to invest in. Particularly me, I'm not as risky, but I like to take some risks because I'm younger, I guess, and I want to get started and get a higher portfolio. Meanwhile, an older gentleman might want to hold back and might want to invest in Conoco since it looks less risky. Now, the PE ratio, average being 17 in the market, just right below 13 is a solid PE ratio, and the average is 17, and Exxon is right there. Chevron is right below. Suncor is a little higher, and Phillips is way down there. So generally, people like Conoco, not crazy, but most people right now are willing to pay more for Suncor because they like it in the market right now. But Exxon is right around the average, and Conoco is not too far behind. Nothing drastic. Still a solid company. And their dividend yield, right around 1.85, is a solid dividend yield. Although you might want a higher dividend yield for a higher return, although beta's higher return, higher reward. If you like staying at a solid increase but not as fast, Conoco is a good company, but Exxon right here is winning right now at 4, which has a higher return price. But also, with that higher risk, it is a less stable company, and Conoco is very well based and stable company. As you can see here, the insider trading, almost all of the top executive I found have holding a substantial amount of shares, which means that Conoco is a stable company because no one knows the company better than these folks here. They obviously have trust in the company, which means that their shareholders should too, because they know everything in and out about the company. They own a substantial amount of shares. As you can see, Matthew Fox owns almost 74,000 shares as of transaction dates. And all these purchases down below, as you can see, in the last 6 months, there have been almost 900, my mistake, 900,000 shares purchased and only 145 sold. Like, it's a no-brainer. Ever since 2016, there has been a constant increase in dividends paid after each year to shareholders from ConocoPhillips. Particularly this quarter ending December 31st, 2018, there's a 4.44% increase. And in the 12th month, there is a 3.08% increase. And in 2017, there was a 4.15% increase in dividends paid to shareholders. Getting into growth now. For an example, Lance stated how prices are around $50 a barrel for oil. Lance will be increasing its shale production by 25% next year. Now, getting into a more financial aspect, there has been a constant increase in dividends, as stated earlier, but the revenue from Conoco as a whole has been almost 20%, with a net income of almost 20%, approximately 18.3%, as well as a diluted EPS of 21.97, rounded up 22%, and operating income of 70.1%. Some more data will be oil prices are plunging due to an anticipated recession in 2019. So Conoco will be one of, if not the most volatile stock. Now, all of these rates, as seen, there's a 30-year TSR, PBGC, corporate bond segment relate rates quarterly, and they all range from 1.25 all the way up to approximately 5, almost 5%, 4.69 being the third of the second quarter. Personally, I think Conoco is an excellent company, but I, although, would not invest in it. Me personally, I think it is a great company to invest in. It is very low risk and very stable, but personally, I think in the near future, their environmental issues as a different business perspective, I think that there will be more hybrid cars and more eco-friendly things, so the demand for oil would be going down. So I would not invest. If I would invest in an oil company, it would have to be Exxon because I personally am more risky as an investor. That's just me. I like high risk, high reward, and Exxon has a higher market value, but Conoco is a very stable, very no, really no, little to no problems ever happen in that company, and it is very stable and is an all around great company. Personally, I think Conoco is